Perfect. Welcome everyone to this office hours with the one and only Erin Halper. We're so excited to have you. Office hours is one of Dreamers and Doers' many offerings. Some of you may have been to social events where you get to create meaningful connections with members one-on-one, or business masterminds where you solve real problems, or mixers for your industry. And office hours are a way for experts to share their many years of experience and wisdom. And you better prepare yourselves because Erin Halper is indeed an expert. And we are all so lucky to be learning from her today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Erin. She is the founder and CEO of The Upside, which helps professionals build and scale thriving consultancy businesses, which helps them work exactly when and how they want. So for the last 4 years since she founded The Upside, she has advised thousands of professionals on how to do this. And she's also spoken at Harvard's International Women in Business Conference, Brown University's Women Entrepreneurship Conference, and so many more. And as someone who is personally part of The Upside, I can vouch that both of these communities, Dreamers and Doers and The Upside, are so game-changing, so impactful on so many levels and in different ways. So the fact that we get to benefit from Erin's amazing expertise is I'm so grateful for it, and I'm so excited for all of you to experience it. And Erin has also personally inspired me to pursue consulting as well. So we have so much to learn from her. And Erin, you can take it away.
Yeah, I will. And that was a great intro. So thank you so much. And it is no surprise to me that we have obviously Dreamers and Doers here, but there are Upside members in here too, who are also Dreamers and Doers. And I am obviously in Dreamers and Doers. Dreamers and Doers was the first community I joined when I started my business. And I don't know. I think, Sarah, no one is more of an evangelist for Dreamers and Doers than me. I think I'm number one because I tell everyone about it and I think everyone should be in it. And that's why so many Upside members are here because our communities are so collaborative, they're so complementary, and I personally get so much value from Dreamers and Doers, and there's a reason why there's people in both. So let's dive in because I want to get as much packed in as possible so that everyone can ask questions at the end because I know people will have questions, and I want to make sure I can get to all of your personalized questions. So I am going to share my screen right now. All right. Can I just get a thumbs up, something to let me know that you can see my, okay, got it. All right. So you're here because we're going to talk about the top secrets for landing high ticket consulting clients. Isn't that the gazillion-dollar question, right? Like, doesn't everyone want to know how to land high ticket consulting clients? Yes, I get asked that question in some way, shape, or form at least 3 to 4 times a day. So I am going to dive into an overview on the top secrets for landing those types of consulting clients. There we go. All right, so my quick question for you, and let me open up my chat. My quick question for you is, what do you call yourselves? So, I know that everybody says something a little bit different. Everybody has a different way to call themselves. So I love to hear from everyone. If you want to type it into the chat, what title do you use? Is it a consultant? Are you a freelancer? Are you an advisor? A stress specialist. Okay, well, that is, I could use that. Founder, consultant, art advisor, consultant and coach, video expert, agency, another consultant and coach, leadership coach, advisor, also freelancer, consultant, maybe activist. So everyone calls themselves something a little bit different, but the underlying business model is very similar. So whatever your title, I promise you, you are going to learn something today that's going to make your life a whole lot easier. I want to give you some perspective though. Everything I teach is from the lens of consultants, advisors, agencies, coaches, and freelancers. And if you have a B2C business, maybe like the art advisory, that type of thing, that's okay. You're still going to learn a lot today, but just keep that perspective that is my lens of which I teach. So let me just give you a little bit of background. I mean, Sarah did a great job introducing me, but some of you don't know me at all. So I want to give you a little background on my consulting journey. I started consulting when I was around 30 years old, and I had just gotten married to this guy. We call him Mr. Upside. He doesn't have a name. He's just Mr. Upside. And I started consulting because, quite frankly, I wanted to work when, where, and how I wanted. And I didn't know any better. And I didn't know that it would be difficult. No one told me that. This was a long time ago. It was about 2008. And this was before a lot of people were consulting. I didn't know anyone who was even a freelancer. So this was really, really new and kind of bold in my world. And so I just launched not knowing any better. And then about a year later after launching, I was around 20 weeks pregnant and we found out there was something wrong with the baby. I will go right out and say he is a thriving 9-year-old with no health problems today. He is awesome, but it did not start out that way. And at that point, I really realized, oh my God, like I am so glad that I have all this flexibility because now I'm thrown into this whole world of millions of doctor's appointments and just endless scheduling. And wow, I am so glad I have my own clients and I don't have a full-time job. Then when he was born, he went through 2 different surgeries to correct his heart defect. And that moment in the hospital, it's painful to even look at the picture still, but I like to show this picture because that's the moment where he came out of surgery. And it was not lost on me that what started as a want, wanting to work when, where, how I wanted, really was now a need. And I thought to myself, how would other parents possibly work full time if they and manage this baby's health at this? Like I had to juggle everything. So I was able to maintain my clients, still earn a nice 6-figure income, and handle my baby's health all at the same time without skipping a beat. How could I do that? Because of consulting. I went on to consult for another 7 years and then launched the Upside in 2017. Originally, it was a client matching platform. Quite honestly, I hated that business so much that we redesigned it later on, which I'll tell you. So I've spoken on podcasts, I've spoken at big events like Ladies Get Paid at Brown. That's a picture of me at Brown, all about consulting. It's all I talk about pretty much all day long. So today, after we redesigned the business model in 2019, we have a membership and we have an accelerator. So the accelerator launched in November and the membership launched in early 2019. Now, I want to point out that when I was my own boss, when I was consulting, I did not get it right all the time, but I learned really, really quickly. And back then, I picked things up quickly. And eventually, I was able to say no to the businesses that couldn't afford me. And I was able to say yes only to the opportunities that lit me up. And isn't that the ultimate goal of even having these businesses in the first place? So before we jump into those secrets, I will tell you that 95% of your success as a consultant lies in your ability to generate clients on your own. So not through Catalant, not through and not being subcontracted by another agency, but owning the clients. I've seen plenty of people who aren't even that great at their work, but they're really good at business development, have thriving businesses because they just know how to sell. They know how to get the client. So imagine how great you'll do if you know how to get clients yourself and you're really good at the work. Before we dive in, I also want to go over the quality over quantity mindset. This is something that people I thought was obvious, but apparently it is not. I hear a lot of people ask me, how do I get more clients? How do I get more clients? And I always say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Why are you asking me how to get more clients? It's how do you get the right clients? Because in this example, we have someone with 10 clients and someone with 3 clients, but they're making the exact same amount of money. And in this example, the person with 10 clients, they have more invoicing, more collections, more personalities to juggle, more client demands. This is not a good business. This is a difficult business to manage. Whereas the person with 3 clients or, 3, 4, 5 clients that are paying 5 to 15, $20,000 a month, that's the good business. That's what you want. So always keep in mind, it's not about getting more clients, it's about getting the right clients. So let's go into secret number one. Successful consultants position themselves as experts even though they're still learning. All right, so what does that mean? Let's dive into that. That means that they post consistent content. They post content that elevates them as an expert. It positions them as a thought leader. A lot of people don't want to do this. But if I told you, all right, Marissa, if you post an article or share somebody else's article with your own commentary, if you do that 3 times a week on LinkedIn, by the end of the year, you'll have 6-figure clients that you did nothing to get. They came to you. You'd probably go, okay, I could commit to that. So I see a lot of people spin their wheels on cold outreach and they haven't even done this step yet. You don't need to do cold outreach. You need to lay the foundation to position yourself as an expert so that people come to you. So what does that mean? If you're a beginner, if you're not like a content specialist, which is basically how I was when I started, you can just share relevant articles on LinkedIn. I see Lori do this. I see some of you do this. I'm looking around the room. I've seen Brielle share some things, and you can just share your own commentary. Or if you're better at content, you can write original posts. You can write things about trends, articles and news, predictions, anything that's relevant to your target audience. You could even write about your own personal experiences in your industry, believe it or not. And I'm not a content specialist, so I was really shocked about this, but my most successful articles that got the most engagement had nothing to do with advice or trends or tips. It was about my story, some authentic version of my story. And funny enough, the one that did the very best of all time was about my failures. Isn't that weird? Like I mean, some people are like, oh yeah, well, that's obvious. Well, it wasn't obvious to me. I just couldn't come up with something to write that week. So that's what I wrote. And it got so much engagement. And I got 3 podcast interviews out of it. So there you go. And then, of course, if you're more advanced, you can do Instagram lives or LinkedIn lives. You can start a clubhouse room or a club. You can do a YouTube channel, podcast, anything to just get content out there and position yourself as an expert. The funny thing about experts are always learning. If you have stopped learning, you are no longer an expert. So just I hear people say a lot of times, well, I'm not an expert there. I've still so much to learn. You know, Sarah, you have so much to learn on, communities for big corporations. And yes, we know that. You're going to learn as you go. And that's what makes you an expert. One of our members, Carrie Fournier, she told me that in the last 4 months, she had 2 current coaching clients reach out simply because they liked or followed what she was posting on LinkedIn. Proof in the pudding. Also, they have a high value offering. What I mean by high value offering is that they're offering what they say, when I say, hey, Ingrid, what do you do? And whatever words come out of your mouth next, that's your high value offering. Their offering maximizes their most valuable skills and it focuses on results that clients are looking for, the pain point that it solves. So when people say, what do? You need that answer to be what you do and for whom. The result, not the task. So oftentimes I hear people say, answers that are so flowery or they're creative or cutesy. That's fine for a tagline on your website, but every single person you meet is a door to opportunities. So successful consultants know that having a high value offering that maximizes their most valuable skills and focuses on results will open more doors. Also, they communicate their value. This one, I am like this is one of the things, like once you see it, you can't unsee it. And you'll see this everywhere now. Some people focus on tasks. And when I say focus on, that means when they're describing what they do, or maybe it's on their LinkedIn page, they talk about copywriting. I do business development. I host leadership workshops, operational support. But instead, you want to focus on the results when you're communicating your value. So instead of copywriting, you would say, I increase customer conversions. Instead of I maximize cash flow, which sounds nice, what's better is I increase bottom line growth. Instead of operational support, we solve urgent bottlenecks. Instead of I do business development is I provide clients with access to new accounts. Instead of I facilitate leadership workshops, you could say I build thriving corporate cultures. All right. Also, they maximize the 4 pillars of value. So this is something that I've assembled over my many, many years of doing this. I believe that there are only 4 results that clients are looking for. There are only 4 reasons why clients hire consultants. Number 1 is they're looking to grow revenue. The second one is they're looking to save money. The third is they need access to something that you have. And the fourth is there's a big headache that needs to be solved in order to continue growing. So, do you grow top line revenue? Do you help companies cut costs? Maybe you're like a COO, for example. Do you provide them access to something? For example, do you have access to great talent? Or do you have access to um, business accounts or like a Rolodex of retailers that a client may want access to? And do you solve a big headache? Are they bringing you in to get them unstuck in some way, shape, or form? So when you think about your offering, when you think about how you're maximizing your offering, you want to think about it in terms of these 4 things. Some people do all 4. Some people just do 1. Just understand what it is about what you do that is actually appealing to clients. It'll help you focus and zero in on that message. I like to give these examples because right here, this company is selling what? A mattress, right? Wrong. This company is selling, anybody want to guess? Anyone want to type it into the chat? I like pop quizzes. I'll give you 3 seconds. Somebody. That's right, Kim. That's right. Genevieve, you've got it. They're not selling a mattress. They're selling a good night's sleep. What about these guys? They're not selling an alarm system. They're selling, say, peace of mind. That's right, Lori. They're selling peace of mind. And this company, that is not a handbag, my friends. What are they selling? What are they selling? Aspirational, exclusivity, status. That is correct. I have a handbag. It is a canvas tote that says the upside. It carries all my crap the same way this carries all of someone else's crap. But the reason I don't spend $2,000 on a bag is because I'm not buying and I don't care about aspirational, exclusivity. But apparently a lot of people do. All right, secret number 2. They've mastered the art of client prospecting. This is hands down, over my years, I found that more people miss this particular point than anything else that I teach. I find they just don't understand this. And then I teach it and they're like, oh my God, this completely changed the way I speak to clients. So I like to think of it as this high value approach, prospecting. Some consultants go into a client meeting thinking they're being interviewed, as if they are answering the client's questions. You walk in and you expect them to be asking you a lot of questions and you're there to answer your questions. Some consultants go into a client meeting pitching. You're there to sell your services. Successful consultants go into a client meeting prospecting, which is uncovering if there's a mutual fit for working together. So what does that look like? You're the one that is going to ask the questions. You are in control of the meeting. You're going to say, what is the problem? You want to figure out what's the problem. So you'll ask a question like, tell me why you agreed to meet with me today. Or tell me why you asked to meet with me today. And what you're getting from them is, and this is why there's an onion there, is you're trying to peel back all the layers to get to one of those four pillars of value. So they may say, well, we really need social media strategy. We just don't have social media strategy and it's just not going great. We don't have an organic strategy. That's what I called you in for. Okay, that's the task. Let's peel back the layer. What's the real problem here? Okay, so tell me what your goals are for the next 6 months, or tell me what your goals are for 2021. Well, my goal is to grow my client base organically. All right, so if I'm hearing you correctly, so you're going to repeat it back. If I'm hearing you correctly, you want to grow your client base in 2021 and you want to do it through organic social media. Is that correct? Yes, that's it. Okay, great. So now you've uncovered what the actual problem is. I mean, how many of you have lost a client or had trouble with a client because they really just didn't know what they wanted? I hear that all the time. Oh, the client, they just don't know what they want. Well, that's your fault. No, I'm just kidding. But it's your job to figure out what the problem is and to speak their language and let them hear it and let them agree with you before moving forward. Then you want to uncover, what is it worth? What is it worth to them? So a question like, well, so we've gotten to, what are your goals for 2021? Oh, we want to grow our client base. Great. By how much? What are your goals for that? What do you stand to gain if you reach those goals? What do you stand to lose if you don't reach it? And you're trying to get them to give you a number. Well, if I could grow my client base by about 10,000 customers by the end of the year, then we can raise our next round of capital, which we're trying to do about 20 million. And then we can, so forth, so forth. So now they've just admitted that raising capital is like it relies on this thing getting done. So that's a big lift. So that way, when you say your rate is $100,000 for the 3-month project or whatever it is, it's a drop in the bucket compared to what they're trying to get to in the end. So you're trying to get them to say a big number to tell you what it is worth so that when you give them your high ticket price, it's a drop in the bucket. It's all relative because it's amazing how much people are willing to pay when they realize what they have on the line. So they started off saying they needed social media, but at the end of the day, it comes down to raising more capital or something else almost all the time. And then, of course, what's the sense of urgency? How many of you, and you can give me just like something in the chat, how many of you had a hot lead? They're like, they yesed you to death. You send them the contract and you get ghosted. Like it just never happens. Anybody? Dana? Marissa is giving me a thumbs up. Kimberly, Allison. All right. Well, it happens to everybody. So you want to uncover just this week. Great. Yep. Lori is a yes. What is the sense of urgency? All right. So what questions do you ask? You ask something like, how soon are you looking to get started? And if they say yesterday, then you know it's a here and now opportunity. If they say, well, we're still talking to some other people and, we're still trying to figure things out, we're not really sure, or we're thinking maybe like next quarter, then you can pace yourself. It's not a hot client, it's not a hot lead, which is okay, but you're not going to send them a proposal. You're going to say, you know what, let's touch base in another month and we'll see where you are then. And we'll go from there. And that way you're not wasting your precious time. Another thing that's important is making sure the decision maker is in the room. If they have to relay your prospecting information, your conversation over to someone else for approval, you can forget about getting that deal done anytime in the next year. Like it is, and you're relying on someone else to sell you. No, you want to sell you. You don't want someone else to sell you. So you want to make sure that person's in the room. So you can say something like, is there anyone else who needs to be in the room right now to make this decision? Who else needs to be on this call? You want to make sure that you are talking to people who can make that decision, or else you are wasting your time. All right, so we identified the problem. So what is the client actually looking to achieve? Pointing to one or more of those 4 pillars of value. What's the value of the problem? So how much money does the client place on the problem or the project? What do they stand to gain? What do they stand to lose? And urgency. How soon does the client need this problem solved? And then at the end of the conversation, by all means, they can ask questions. You can even pepper in case studies throughout this conversation. But the ultimate goal of the conversation is for you to be able to say, I think that there is a great fit for us to work together, or I am confident that this is something that I can do for you in the next 6 months, or, I honestly, I don't think I'm a fit for this, but let me introduce you to somebody who is. Either way, everyone is walking away with value. All right, secret number 3, they know their worth. All right, so freelancers, there is nothing wrong with being a freelancer. But if you call yourself a freelancer, if you position yourself as a freelancer, it will be assumed that you make less money and that you are less stable as somebody who owns a business. That is why I always tell people to position yourself as a business, not a freelancer. Have an LLC, have a business name. A business is something that is established. It has the perception of being very high value. The perception is that you're building something, scaling something, that you have different revenue streams. The perception of a freelancer by clients is that you are temporary, disposable, replaceable. You just do project by project. So if anybody here who does position themselves as a freelancer, consider that mindset shift of positioning yourself as a business. Also, people who know their worth, they speak with a ton of confidence. How do you do that? And let me tell you, everyone can learn how to speak with confidence. It is a learned skill if you don't already have it naturally. It means not using these types of weak words. I supported somebody, I acted as, or I helped blah, blah, blah. I assisted, or I was responsible for. Almost everybody has some of these words woven into their LinkedIn. I see it every single day. Instead, it's I led, or I pioneered, I drove, I generated, I was pivotal in. Own your success. Use power words, not weak words. It will help communicate confidence and value and draw in high ticket clients. Also, successful consultants who know their worth, they embrace boundaries. And someone here had asked a question about boundaries, so I am going to answer it right now. It means they never give away ideas. A big mistake people make is that they give away ideas in the prospecting stage, thinking, and I understand the logic, they think it's like a little carrot. They're dangling a little carrot where like, oh, I'm going to give them this one little nugget and it's going to make them want to sign with me. That rarely happens. I'm not saying it never happens. I'm saying it rarely happens. When you give away your ideas, you are diluting your value. You are telling the potential client that your ideas don't have value, that they are not worth anything. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of you are selling ideas. That is what you're selling, your strategy. So don't ever give them away. You can give away the what, but not the how. I've seen people in DD actually, because then they came to me afterwards. I've seen people give away frameworks in their proposals even and say how they would execute it. And then the companies just took it in-house. Don't give away ideas. There's no excuse ever to give away ideas. Never work for free. Whether it's friends and family, whether it's, someone that's like a big name company, and you're just like, I just want their logo on my website. I just want to use it as a case study. I want to build my credibility. You've already built your credibility. You've already done it. None of you are 22 years old working for the first time. You've already built up your credibility. Everything you did prior to being a consultant is credible for justifying your expertise. Never give away free work. Free clients do not usually lead to paying clients. They will say sometimes, like, oh, if you do this for me, like, I'll introduce you to all these people. Let me tell you how many times I heard that in my consulting days and how many times I actually got a client. It is zero. And Nina, I just want to address this because I'm seeing this in the chat. If a prospect client asks for ideas during that initial call, you simply say, well, that's funny you say that. You ask because my ideas are my most valuable asset. And that is what clients pay me for. I have so many great ideas for you just percolating in my head. I cannot wait to share them with you. And if you sign with me, I will be so excited to share all of those ideas with you. That's it. And then move on. All right. Never prove their value. So a lot of times consultants make the mistake of feeling like they have to prove their value to the client before they sign. They have to jump through hoops. I have found that the most successful consultants put on what I call their Richard Branson hat or their Sheryl Sandberg hat. They they imagine themselves as a coveted business person that anybody would be salivating to have work for their company. Do you think Sheryl Sandberg sweats over a client prospect? Do you think Richard Branson sweats over it? No, because they walk in and they're like, I'm the jam. And like, these people are lucky I'm even in their presence. So put on that hat. And of course, it makes clients want them even more. Put on that hat and never feel like you have to prove your value. As soon as a client starts to sniff around and feel like if they sniff out that you're trying to prove yourself, it dilutes your value and your confidence, and then it makes them not want to work with you as much. And always instill FOMO. And it might be fake FOMO. I don't care. You don't have all day. You've got a line of clients waiting to work with you. You guys want to drag on your contracts? That's no problem. But this contract is, and this proposal and this rate is only good for the next 5 days. Fear of missing out. I don't care if you have 0 clients. Always make it look like you have a lot of clients because that will instill FOMO, fear of missing the opportunity, into those prospective clients. All right. And also, they mostly price their services based on value, not time. It is perfectly fine, despite what many people say. It is fine to price on time. There is nothing wrong with pricing by the hour or how much time you think it will take you. But I will tell you that the next layer, the next like advanced level above that is pricing based on value. So let's say that client had told you that it was worth $20 million to them. Getting back to our prospecting stage. Oh, well, we're trying to grow by $20 million this year. So let's say they were hiring you because you had access to retail accounts and they wanted to get into those retailers. You're not going to charge them by the hour to pick up the phone and make those calls and introduce them to those accounts because you spent 20 years building those relationships. It doesn't match up. You're going to charge them a, $10,000 to $20,000 a month retainer plus a 10% commission on all sales. You have to price more on value, not on time. Another example, let's say, like, I'm making this up now. Let's say Bank of America came to you and they wanted you to do a rebrand, which may take you like 40 to 50 hours to do, but it's Bank of America. It's Bank of America. It's like it affects, millions of people and it's a huge budget. You're not going to charge the same that you're not going to charge by how much time it took you. Even if it's 100 hours, you're not going to charge by that. You're going to charge them, $300,000, $400,000 for that. All right. So I want to get to the Q&A. And just before we do, I just want to point out that I give away a ton of stuff on Instagram. So we have a ton of free downloads. This is just one of them. Please feel free to download all of these freebies. If you go to the link in bio, there's like a like there's like free this, free this, free this. One of them's the pricing playbook, which a lot of people have responded to be like super, super valuable. It's all free. I give it all away. And then also, I'm not doing it for another month, but I host a Monday club called Level Up Your Consulting. And within that club, we have open office hours. Sometimes I do pitch practice. So you are welcome to follow this, and then you can show up and ask me questions all you like. And then I love it when dreamers and doers connect with me on LinkedIn. All right, let's go to the Q&As that were sent to me. These were sent to me from Sarah. How do I help clients shift out of financial fears in order to fully commit to our time together? Well, that's an easy one. That goes back to the prospecting stage. And if you find that your pipeline is filling up with people who can't afford your services, you know in your gut if you're attracting the wrong audience. You can vet them ahead of time, so you're not even having that call. A lot of our members will have a form, just like a simple Google form that asks like 4 or 5 questions, and one of those questions has to do with budget. And it's a lot of times it's like multiple choice, like, how much are you committed, how much can you commit to spending to solve this problem, and then they can check off which one. And if it's not in line with your particular pricing, you can email them and say, hey, just to let you know, my pricing starts at $10,000 a month, so I don't think we're a fit for right now, but if anything changes, please let me know. But it's all in the prospecting stage. If you are asking those questions about value, how much do you stand to lose if you don't implement this right now? How much do you stand to gain if you reach that goal this year? Getting their mindset around the value of the problem and the project will help shift them out of those financial fears. Most clients with financial fears are small clients. Those are usually either a founder or a startup. Yes, they have lots of financial fears. In those cases, too, I always tell people offer them a day rate, offer them a 1 hour strategy session. Okay, you can't afford my $10,000 a month retainer? No problem. Just so you know, I'm also happy to come in at a day rate of $2,500 if you want to work with me for a full day. We can get so much done together. Or you can click here and we can do a 1 hour strategy session for $700 or $600, whatever the price is. That way, you're not losing any value, but you're scaling your services down to fit their budget. Where do I find the clients with a high budget? Oh, well, isn't that the gazillion-dollar question right there? How do I find clients with a high budget? How do I land and close high-ticket clients? So those were two separate questions that I personally thought was the exact same question. I have to tell you that it is all in the positioning. Lori Bonani, you're a member and you've seen me teach this for a long time, and you've seen what it looks like to evolve out of those scrappy clients and into clients with high budgets. It's all about the positioning. Are you speaking with confidence? Are you laying that foundation with thought leadership every single week? It's all about, are you prospecting the right way? But finding the clients, let them find you. That's the big mistake, is a lot of people do all this cold outreach. Let them find you. Lay the right foundation. Spend the time optimizing your LinkedIn, making sure your website is optimized, your messaging is optimized, that you are putting out consistent content, that you're positioning yourself as a high-level expert, and those clients will start to come to you. And I know that sounds like, how is that even possible? That seems like such a broad answer. I'm saying it because I know for a fact that it works, and I've been doing this long enough to know, and maybe Lori, if you're there, you can chime in and back me up here. But that is how you do it. How do I price for friends and family? You don't. Friends and family should pay the same rates that your clients pay, because it's still time. If you have an agency and you have junior people working for you, by all means, you can discount it and let the junior people work on it. But if you're a consultant and it's just you have to charge the same rates for everybody, because your time is your money. How do you mix having online courses with high ticket one-on-one coaching clients and group coaching offerings? Um, to be honest, I wasn't sure what this was actually asking because they're all coordinated. We do this in the upside. So we have one-on-one advisory. We have an accelerator, which is similar to an online course. It's an accelerator program. And we have membership. And yes, we're not consultants, but plenty of people marry all of these together. These are not, it's not like you asked me, how do I sell t-shirts and do coaching? That I don't have an answer for, but this is all stuff. This all goes really, really well together. I can tell you, if you looked at our site, you would see, some like a drop down menu that's like, how, what we do or something like that. And drop down, it'll say membership accelerator one-on-one advisory. Like we just like boom, boom, boom. These are our three things. Oh, and that's it. Those were all the questions. So now I can answer your questions. I'm sure you all have lots of questions. I'm going to stop the share. All right, here we go. I've been sort of looking back and forth on the chat, Sarah, but like not the whole time. So do you want to help me out a little bit by plucking some questions?
Totally. And I'm actually going to stop my video just for internet's sake. So sorry if it's a little bit hazy, but one question is, if a company doesn't know the value of what they're losing. So in this example, there's an attendee that does like stress management consulting. So if the company doesn't know how much stress is taking away from them, how do you sell it to them if they don't know what it's worth?
Well, then you should have your own statistics. I would imagine as someone in that business, um, you should have your own research and thought leadership on what this is costing companies as far as productivity, as far, I mean, I'm not an expert on that particular topic. That's not my expertise, but I do know that there's so much research out there on what stressed out employees, what that costs a company, whether it's churn or lack of productivity, all of that. Lack of community, lack of collaboration. There are so many research studies out there. So I would pull from those. I would have those anyway, to be honest, even if they don't know, because they're probably not going to know. So you have to sometimes tell them what it's costing them in that sense.
Amazing. So another question is, in terms of not wasting our time with proposals and clients that aren't going to pan out, what if a client requests a proposal even though they're unsure and they don't have a sense of urgency?
So if that were me personally, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer for this. It's all just a matter of how you want to use your time. If that was me, I would personally say, um, I put a lot of effort and time into my proposals. They are all custom. They are not rinse and repeat. So I don't want to put a proposal together if you are not sure of the actual need. When we are sure of the need, then I can put a proposal together and price everything and scope everything out for your specific need. I mean, I would avoid it. I wouldn't put the time into it. And I think that that's a very clear answer too. I think that's a legit answer. This takes me hours to put together, and I want to make sure that you are very clear on what you need before I put this together. Otherwise, I'm wasting your time, but really you're wasting your time. I'm wasting your time and it's a waste of my time.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So now there's another question. If you're newer to consulting and you don't necessarily have long-term results to share from your clients, how do you ethically claim results when potential clients ask for that data?
Well, number one, you can use results from your past employers. That still counts. That's still work that you did. They may not have been clients, but your past work as a full-time employee counts towards your experience and case studies. Then if you're really green and you have very little in that way, you can use case studies, industry case studies. You can say, let me give you an example of how Chase, blah, 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 blah. That's the last thing you want to do, but it's still something people do. They give industry case studies. First of all, it shows that you're on top of the industry and you know what's what, but it's better than saying nothing. The last thing you want a client to think is that they're your first client. or that they are your guinea pig. It's no, I do this all the time. I've been doing this for years. Let me give you some examples. And it doesn't matter if it was a full-time employer or not.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So Kim has a question. What do you do if someone says that they're the decision maker, but then you realize halfway through that they're actually not the true yes or no person?
Well, that is just weird. Like that is that is strange. Like I guess that's happened to you. That is a question I have never gotten, Kim. They say they're the decision maker, but then you realize, I mean, I flat out would ask in the beginning or even before setting up the call, who else needs to be in the room to make this decision? Who signs the contracts here? Whose signature will be on the contract? That's what I want to know. Um, that pretty much gets to the point, because if someone says, oh, it's my boss, or, well, I make the decisions, but ultimately my boss signs the contract. Great. Let's get your boss on the call. Um, I mean, that's just an unlucky Kim, I've never gotten that question, which means it should not happen very often. Um, I'm a little perplexed by that one, to be honest. I think you're just gracious about it. You're gracious about it. And then if you realize halfway through, I'm not sure why you're realizing halfway through, like what they're saying, or um, why they weren't truthful with you at the beginning. But if you realize for whatever reason halfway through, you could even stop. I've seen people even stop the meeting and say, you know what? Let's just let's set up another time when Barbara can get on the call, because I want to make sure that I'm getting the best value from our time and that you're getting the best value from my time together.
Awesome. So a pricing question in terms of pricing on value versus time. Should you use time as a boundary if you use a retainer model? For example, if you charge X dollars a month for X hours per month.
It depends. So there's two types of retainer models. There's one where you're charging just like that. So it retains your time so that no one else books you up. Okay. So that's like a lawyer, right? That's like what lawyers do. It retains your time. That is one way to look at it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is a legit, you know, great model. A more advanced model is value-based retainer, where you are rewarded for being very efficient. That is the way to really make a lot of money. So you know that, for example, let's just use PR for an example, because they're always on retainer, right? So PR, we know PR firms are on retainer, so it's like a good thing to compare. We know that entry point for most boutique PR firms is around 10,000 a month retainer. We have no idea how many hours it's taking them. They only bill internally to themselves to figure out, their costs. So they're just giving us a monthly retainer, 10,000 a month. If you are a PR consultant and you want to charge a retainer, you can charge $9,000, $10,000 a month. And if you're really good and you're like, great, this takes me like 5 hours a week tops, because I just know all these people and I'm just so good at this, then you win. They're not going to, that's the best possible scenario. Where people go wrong is they undercharge for a retainer and they don't set hours. So if you're going to do a value-based retainer, it needs to be exorbitant compared to how much time it's going to take you. It needs to match up to the value of what you're providing. And you need to make sure that it's not something that's going to take so many hours that you're going to end up getting hosed. Businesses love value-based retainers because they think they're getting unlimited you. So how do you prevent that from happening? You set hours and you set those clear boundaries. You say, yes, like, no, this isn't about hours, Bob. This is about value and what I'm going to provide you. I am available Monday through Friday from 9 to 5. I do not reply to emails after 5 p.m., but I will get back to you within 24 hours of all emails. And that way there's boundaries, but not in terms of hours. So just so you know, I'm going on and on because this is a very complicated question and value-based pricing is very complicated. But I just want to give you that picture of there are ways to prevent from being hosed, even in what the client thinks is sort of this like unlimited access value-based retainer. And they love it because they don't know that it takes you 5 seconds to do all this stuff. But it's also okay to charge by retainer and by the hour. That's okay too. It's just that value-based pricing will make you more money in less time, but it's more advanced for sure.
Amazing. These are all such great questions. We do have a few minutes left if anyone wants to ask one or two more. And I think we all are in agreement that Erin, your expertise is just so invaluable.
Oh, thanks.
Grateful for you sharing.
Thank you. Well, this is why I rolled out, which is just like a beast of a thing. I'm not going to lie. This is why I rolled out that accelerator program, because so many people were asking all of these questions. And I was like, there is just no way for me to get this information out to people in a logical way unless I consolidate everything into one place, one program. And for anyone who's ever rolled out any kind of digital anything, you know what a beast it is. It is a beast, but the rewards are infinite. So
For
that's
sure.
why we did it. I was like, I should have just stuck with my nice community. That was fun. That was lovely. It was going just fine. And I had to add on another thing.
Okay, we have a couple of last questions. One is, how do you show your expertise without giving examples? And
You
another,
do give examples, Dana. You give case studies. Um, you give, you give examples of things that you've done in the past that line up with what they're trying to do. And you give the results of what happened. That's exact. You just don't give ideas. You don't tell them, well, this is how I would handle it for you, or this is my approach. This is my framework. Here's what I would do, or here's an idea. And if we work together, I'll do that for you. Or, you just don't do that. You give them like the most high level what without the how.
that's a good question. What if they do ask for examples of something specific that you delivered for a previous client?
Yes, you should give them that. But if it's so detailed, if it's something that you would do for them, like, I mean, give me an example, Sarah. You got to throw an example at me.
I guess if they're paying for a specific deliverable, but yeah, like you would send an example of a deliverable.
Okay, so let's say we're going to make it really simple. Let's say it's a content calendar every month. Okay, so I'm like bringing everything down to like a simple, I know all of you do a lot more than that, but let's say they're paying for a content calendar. They're like, great, give me an example of what a content calendar looks like for a client. Now, in those situations, I would have one ready to go. I would always have an example of what that looks like. I would just have one generic content calendar ready to send. I'm like, great, here's an example of what a content calendar looks like. And you can create it for like a fake client just so that you're not giving away your old client's work, but it'll just show them an example. Or you give them a case study, but you don't say, okay, well, for like the month of May, first week, I would talk about this, and then we'd go over that. And then the second week, oh, that's your sales cycle. So we would roll out on like a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Like you just don't do that. You don't give them any frameworks or any ideas at all.
Amazing. Thank you. And one last question is, um, what's the difference between your accelerator program and the community membership for the upside?
So the membership is like Dreamers and Doers. It's an ongoing community of support and leveling up and expanding your network with other people who are also consultants and boutique agencies. And the accelerator is a program with a beginning and an end. It's for earlier stage consultants within their first 18 months or so who are doing it already. They're like, I'm doing this, but I know I can do a lot better, or I want to make sure this lasts for the long term. And I need to know how to do it so that I'm getting more joy and more money out of this business. This is what I set out to do, not struggle or hustle.
Awesome. Thank you so much for answering everyone's questions. This was brilliant, and I think we're all taking away so much. And thank you again for your time, for sharing. And thank you to everyone for tuning in from all over the world. We hope to have you at an event very soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me, dreamers and doers. You know how much I love you guys so much. And thanks to everyone for investing an entire hour of your time to be here and learn with me. I
I hope
appreciate
you're looking at the chat, Erin, because it is blowing up. Everyone is saying thank you, love the way you share this information, and I agree.
And Sarah, you recorded this, so Dana, the slides and the whole presentation will be available to you on a recording, and you can have them that way. We don't send them out as the actual Google Doc or the Google slides, but you'll have access to them on the recording.
Yep, and stay tuned for that. Thank you, everyone, again for coming, and
Awesome.
have you again soon.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.